Mm-hmm.
On the bottom.
Yep, I have it. I just have to find the correct desktop.
There you go.
Perfect. Yes, we did. We did practice this beforehand. So what I propose to work on is some open source interactivity for classroom text. And you'll have to give me a little leeway on the word, well, you don't have to, but I would request that you give me a little leeway on the word text here, just to mean the body of materials that we use in class.
Sean, we're going to return to that because I mean, right there in your subtitle is the sort of the core of your issue, but we'll return to that when you're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what this means is to demonstrate innovations and interactive technology to apply to an open source text for a college level technical communication course. And why that's important to me is I do teach technical communication. I have been one for about 25 years. I notice that there's expensive textbooks that get revisioned every 2 years. No real effective feedback loop for me. Not everything in the text is directly applicable. Interactivity with the things we have is disjointed, and by that I mean publishers create all kinds of media and electronic gadgets for you to bring to your students, and it always involves jumping to and from a Blackboard site that nobody's trained in using. And I think the advantage of what I would like to do is, well, selfishly, I get to create kind of my own environment. I get to use a feedback loop to directly affect what's being presented and how it's being presented every semester. It gets to engage students with interactivity. So instead of, cracking skulls and pouring knowledge in, there's actually discourse, there's two-way communication, there's discussion, there's submission of work, there's review of work. And then my thought is that this could be used in a hybrid or an online environment principally, but certainly also in a traditional class as well. So my approach is to use TiddlyWiki, which, as you know, Professor Schneider is a big fan of. I've actually been working in some of this already, and I can show you what I have when I'm done with the presentation. My thought is to take what I have and go places I haven't been with regards to interactivity. And that would include using things like transclusions for reuse and efficiency of content. Interactivity meaning submissions and review of student content. So currently the way I kludge this is receiving Word documents and providing back marked up PDF. But I think we can make this work a little more seamlessly without the barrier of added extra tools, and have students submit content and have me send it back to them right from within the TiddlyWiki environment. And certainly things like online quizzes as well, not to mention discussions. What I don't know is exactly how to pull this off right now. So my approach is also going to involve using online forums, online resources, and the open source community for TiddlyWiki to try and resolve some of these things. My full intent is to comment my code, comment my script, comment my TiddlyWiki. I have kids. I struggle with short-term memory. They took it all away from me. And so it's not just for me, though, if I make changes next semester or next year. It's for other people if they choose to use a similar approach to this kind of interactivity. So challenges, scripting. TiddlyWiki is kind of peculiar. The plugins for TiddlyWiki are kind of peculiar. And by that, I mean they're peculiar to me. I recognize HTML. I can type HTML. I can do some JavaScripting and some PHP. But there's no body of text that says, here's how the TiddlyWiki markup works. You just sort of have to play with it and see what the results are and ask questions and get fixes. And TiddlyWiki can sometimes be a little strange in how it implements what you've done. So there's going to be a learning curve, and there's going to be research for me there. Also, implementing elements of design. This will be interactivity for a course on technical communication. And so what I think I need to do is the document needs to practice what it preaches. The text needs to practice what it preaches. And by that, I mean elements of design, like, simple stuff like using proximity and white space and chunking and queuing and filtering and all of those things, and appropriately using the electronic environment needs to be done in a way that you would want to teach people to do it. So there's going to be some research involved in that also. I hope I'm not going too fast. When I'm nervous, I just blaze through everything. So feel free to yell something out if you need me to stop. Deliverables. So what I want to deliver is a TiddlyWiki-based interactivity for a week or two of classes, reusable elements of interactivity such as quizzes, submission of work, markup of work, returning that to the students. I want to produce those classroom slides and get them and have them so that I can prove it out over a week or two of class, and then I can implement it over a semester of class, and the class can build on itself from there. What I intend to deliver then is an example of these things, of these interactions, be able to demonstrate them working, and an example of the code that demonstrates, well, not only did I understand how to implement this, but I also can talk about how to implement it. And I'm going to show you what I have so far in a minute in terms of TiddlyWiki without that interactivity. But what I want to do going forward is dynamic course content for this online or hybrid technical communication course. I want to use feedback from students and other faculty going forward to make the interactivity stronger and to make the design more appropriate for the class. So I expect that over time, the level of interactivity will change based on my use, student use, experience, and experience of those other people with access to the system. So let me bring over what I have. Now, there are a couple of ways to host TiddlyWikis. I was using UpDog. I am now using TiddlySpot. I don't think that's going to matter much. Where is it? There it is. So I have some content in here for this class, as you can see. I'm not using this live. I'm just thinking ahead and thinking about the concepts of technical communication, and I've put them into a TiddlyWiki environment. Let me go to topics. So currently, I'm using tags so we can navigate through the TiddlyWiki. I've incorporated graphics. There's a video or two in here as well, and links. I might have a transclusion right now. I don't know where that is in here. Links to outside web sources. So let me... The projects are all week-long lessons, so I have 14 weeks of lessons set up. While things like videos and traditional textbooks can be kind of linear, and conversely, approaches on the web can be random access, this is going to be a happy mix of both. Obviously, week by week, we're going to have to take some content and discuss it and develop it and learn about it and build on that the following week. So there's going to have to be some linearity in here. So my assignments, or my weeks, I call them projects, are here. And it's into these projects that I will build a fair bit of the interactivity. Here's a video, for example, that we'll play. So within TiddlyWiki, what I have is I have a lot of content that I consider fairly static, videos, graphics, text. I can navigate currently using tags. I can arrange this by dates and by projects. I can do those things. But what I really want to add is the kind of interactivity that I haven't done yet. So those quizzes, the feedback, create the classroom slides and things like that to help support those. And that's what my proposal is. So,
Sean, if I can jump in and you can hang it there for a second. I'm a bit confused because you suggested you were going to try to build out a couple of weeks, but you're showing us like kind of a whole semester. Is that kind of for context, and then you're going to deepen the first 2 weeks or something like that?
Well, to build out the entire semester would take a fair bit of time. What I hope to do is focus on interactivity over a short period of time, like a couple of weeks, so I can focus on the interactivity.
Okay, and that was going to be my next question too. So could you take a step backwards and talk about interactivity, or at least perhaps in your proposal, or at some point in your lit review, we'll have to go back and so what is interactivity, and why is that something that you care about, or that we should care about?
Interactivity is in part the audience writing the narrative or arranging the narrative. And so I don't just want to be telling you something. I want to have discussion on it. I want to be able to work on it, and I want to be able to collaborate on it as part of the process.
Okay. And we talked about this a long time ago, too, but unfortunately, TiddlyWiki while it has many strengths, one of its most significant weaknesses is its lack of collaborative infrastructure.
Well, one way we can do this is with submission and return of work. Another way is there's a Tiddly plugin for use with Twitter, so we could have a classroom set up with Twitter.
Sure.
Those are a couple of ways to address those issues.
Okay, so yeah, so I just wanted to point, because you can't write collaborative wikis, and that's it's just not doable in the current model.
Right, and so it's not a forum, it's not a discussion board, but I also, to a degree, you can't have the students rewrite the entire structure, right? So they're going to be participating in a piece of this.
Well, they can rewrite their own, but you can see it, but they can't collaborate with each other. That's right. The thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's so one of the things that I think that you didn't address too much in your proposal is where you're coming from, and that would be the instructional principles, the instructional design.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Like, are you building this out of a constructivist model? And I know where it's coming from, and I know the answer. So, but you didn't address that in your proposal. But I think you'd want to address that in your lit review. Like, in a sense, you have to walk us through the process that led you to choosing TiddlyWiki as the platform. Other than I said, hey, Sean, if you build TiddlyWiki, it'll be really cool, and we'll have a good time.
Okay, understood.
So you have to create a fiction for us here.
Yes.
Yeah. So others, Russ, do you want to jump in here? Because I preempted your question, I bet.
Well, I had a couple of questions. If I don't see Russ on yet. When you're saying that you're just going to do a couple of weeks of the course, so when we see project 1 through project 14, that doesn't refer to weeks. Does that refer to some other smaller level assignments?
Oh no! So I think I created my own problem here.
Yes.
What I have, right? What I have is a static text, and we'll go back to my original definition of text for a whole semester. What I want to do for my project is I want to create some interactivity with this. And so for my project, I will be focusing on a couple of weeks. What I am giving you is an example of what I have figured out and done that is static. What I don't have examples of are the things I'm trying to figure out and do, which is the interactive. So I would take 2 of these weeks, and that would be my project. Because at some point, my future plans would be to take those things and to populate the rest of the semester based on that kind of interactivity.
I think I have a solution for Catherine's challenge, because I think I see where she's going. Can you go back to your first slide?
Yeah. If I can.
Catherine, I think what you're saying is like you're looking at a whole semester, but you're saying, well, what's the project, right?
Yes, I'm saying that my question started with the slide about deliverables, and it said Sean's going to deliver tiddlywiki-based interactivity. And I sort of let it go for now, but I think it just is a strange deliverable. Like I could see later on when you say quizzes and assignments, or those things would be deliverables, but I don't really, not quite sure what interactivity is, unless what you're going to be submitting is the actual interactions of students with this tiddlywiki, which I don't think is what you're doing.
No, I definitely mean the ability for us to do quizzes, to receive submissions and markups, to create the slides. That's what I mean.
Could you go back? I think it's your first slide.
Yes. Yeah, I was just stopping there for that question.
Yeah, because I think that there.
This one.
That one, yes. I meant your first slide. So I think that one, yes.
Yeah. And then I just clicked by accident.
Yeah. So what you opened your conversation and discussion by talking about a classroom text, and you asked for understanding, to use that word.
Yes.
And you might also have asked for understanding, to use the word classroom.
Yeah. Yes, probably.
So in a sense, I think, and we've talked about this. So I think I understand what you're trying to do. Is you're suggesting that when you teach and you have especially when you have a traditional classroom, you have your 20 students in the room with you twice a week for 4 hours a week, and or twice a week for 2 hours, whatever it is, and then they have a book, and then over here is the Blackboard site where they might submit assignments, and those are all three different places in a sense. And what you're proposing to do is use Tiddlywiki's unique capabilities. So you have to invent the fiction of why you chose Tiddlywiki to understand. And its unique capabilities that allows you to integrate what we would have traditionally called the textbook, but we'll just call it the resource, and what you might traditionally call the lecture slides that you created. So now we're going to build those in the same environment. And the place that describes the things that students submit. So the place they go to, Blackboard or whatever it is, where they hit submit, and that's where you get their assignment. And you want that in a very tightly integrated platform that you control, you the instructor control. And that's where Tiddlywiki has some a very open architecture that at least lets you create that if you're willing to go through the effort and understand what that would do. So it allows you to design and build in a special environment, and maybe it's not production worthy, but it will let you work out some of these ideas, and that's what Tiddlywiki is particularly good for. So I think what you've got is you have this you've created this 14-week static resource or textbook, and that's kind of there, or at least it's your 14-week list of projects that you might have built in Blackboard. But what you're going to do for 2 weeks is you're going to say, I'm going to put together all of these different pieces that I need to effectively teach my class for 2 weeks. I need classroom slides, I need background readings, I need homework assignments, I need places for students to submit, I need places to grab their tweets, whatever it is I think I need. And I'm going to show you what that would look like in this single integrated platform called Tiddlywiki. And that's your project. And in a sense, your project is identifying all those things and then demonstrating what they might look like in an integrated environment. That's also open source and involves a particular platform that treats information and allows you to design and allows you to architect information in a particular way. And so that's why we can build a sort of a demo site that covers 2 weeks of a platform or 2 weeks of a course and call it a project. I'm not sure you need the word interactivity at all.
Okay. I understand what you're saying about that. I think I bumbled through part of this on the slide we're looking at. And the idea being that when you're bouncing back and forth between poorly hosted Blackboard and WebEx and getting students to figure out how to open an SWF on a Mac and how to open this attachment or that attachment or get into Microsoft Word or how do I get you a zip file, what's that? All of those things are barriers, and they're barriers that distract from the common purpose, which is, hey, let's learn about some neat stuff about technical communication. And so the idea being that we can overcome that by putting it in one platform where those barriers really don't exist anymore. And I see what you're saying about TiddlyWiki maybe not being ready for prime time, but I think if we work with the limitations, we can make it ready for the prime time we need it to be ready for.
Well, I think it's ready, but I'm not sure it scales. It's got those other kinds of issues. It's not going to compete with Blackboard, but it's not intended to. But it does have some unique capabilities that's distinctive, and especially for faculty who are willing to work at the edge of coding their own stuff, sort of using their courses as a bit of a maker space, especially if that's something they're teaching, it might work. So it's a very rough tool, but allows you as a designer to make things fit together that you just couldn't do in Blackboard. And so that's why I think you want to emphasize why you're using TiddlyWiki.
Okay.
I think that word interactivity is.
I will forever strike it.
Yeah,
I can revise this. I can address that. Yes.
Yeah, it's really about innovations, and you've identified like 4 or 5 different features that you'd like to build and show, and let's identify what those are, and that's partly what you're going to do by doing your project is, and I think one of them is going to be slides. One of them will probably be some sort of an assignment submission and some sort of a shared tweet environment, where you're bringing in tweets and something like that. And so once you build those things,
quizzes, submissions, review. There's a Twitter plugin that I really want to pull in, so we can use a class hashtag as part of that environment.
So I think you'll be fine. But I just wanted to get this sort of out there on the record. So Catherine, was I right? Did that sort of address your question?
Yes, it does. And I guess the only extension of the question is, once these, I don't know what we've decided to call them, but these interactive tools or whatever it is.
I think what they're called course elements.
Course elements.
Or course tools.
So then will some fake students try to submit some tweets, or it's just going to be, we're building how it might work?
I think that would be, you could possibly do fake students with things like that, yeah.
Possibly we could all try it.
There you go.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Sean.
So, Sean, thank you. I think that works well. Me, I'm always a fan of the folks pushing out. And so one thing I do want to draw attention to is your third bullet on this particular slide.
Yes.
So part of your approach and part of your research is learning to work and write open source code in a community.
Yes.
And so that in and of itself is a research question. How do I do that, and how does that work? And so what has my experience been working? And there's a very active, if modest size, Google group that's pretty active in TiddlyWiki. And so, I don't know if you've experienced it yet, but you pretty much
I've had some questions and answers on there already. The Twitter based plugin was one of the things.
Yeah, so you ask a question, you get an answer, and
you try it. Yes, and then it doesn't work. So,
so
you work on it. And you can,
I was trying to show something I had built, and I couldn't get it to work, and so I marginally, embarrassingly asked the question on that forum: how did I get this to work before, and now it doesn't work? And literally within 15 minutes, somebody said, "Oh, because of this and that." I said, "Oh, okay, there it is." And that would have taken me a long time to figure out. I don't know how, but that's the point is that as a research approach, having that experience and chronicling that experience is an important part of Sean's project. So I'm looking forward to seeing that as well.
Can I just ask one thing? When you showed me that list, it had project 1 through project like 14 or something.
Yes.
I mean, this may be just because you're just trying to come up with a structure there, but I can't think of anything less useful than just seeing projects named by numbers. If there is a way you could give me a sense of what those projects are, so I have a sort of an idea of what I may want to choose or where I might want to go. It's just a personal thing that calling things just by a generic name doesn't give you much sense as to how that semester is going to develop. But
Ross, I think Sean is using Project 01 the way that like, for example, in my class, I would use week '01.
It's just a week designation.
Yeah, and that's, if that's how you want to go. But I would prefer it said week 1 and then explain what you did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And by the way you accomplish that, Sean, is when you import them from your LSX field, because I think those come from a spreadsheet. Create a column called caption.
Mm-hmm.
Your caption is what will become visible. The title of the tiddler that's in the field called caption becomes visible rather than the title of the tiddler itself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. And again, this is just putting content in my static bucket, right? So this is going to change and going to become more design friendly for sure. But just, I mean, I do have some real headings and real introductions and things in this content. So, okay.
Yeah, well, a big part of this is also just learning how to work with the information. It's I mean, TiddlyWiki, you've seen enough of it now. It always looks sort of at this stage similar. It's a database basically, and so learning to work with it and I'm hoping that Sean will get to the point where you open it up and you don't necessarily even know that it's written in TiddlyWiki, but it takes a while to get there. But thank you very much. Were there other questions in there?
Well, thank you all for the direction and the input. We'll make it work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not. We're all good here. And I was looking for